Okay, we're ready for a writing assignment. I'm sorry about the lighting. Usually when it's dark like this, or it looks kind of funny, it's because it's early in the morning and it's still dark outside. I get up really early and so I get things done. But so if the lighting looks perfect, then it's probably in the afternoon. But so it is this morning. So anyway, all right. So we're gonna go ahead and do our writing lesson for our first writing lesson for the week. So last week we kind of went through it and did a few little exercises, expounding on some sentences in different ways. So today we're going to look at the example paragraph. In fact, over the next, I think, 2 weeks, because remember we only have 3 lessons a week. So over the next 2 weeks, we're going to study, I think there's, let's see, there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's actually 7 different types of paragraphs we're going to look at. We've already looked at expounding on our sentences, so now we're going to look at the different types of paragraphs. I will be grading these writing assignments, so make sure you pay close attention. Now, I know I've already gone over it with you, but there's what I call a rubric, or what we call a rubric, that I'll be using, and I'll be pretty much using this. It's in your book on page 235. It's called Paragraph Parameter Check, and basically it outlines everything that I'm going to be looking for and that I'm going to be grading on. And this goes by how many mistakes you made, and then I grade it based on that. But your actual grade will be based on what you got right out of how many there were. It's kind of I know what I mean, so you don't really have to know what I mean, but that's basically it. But this gives you an idea. So I'm going to be grading based on, did you organize your sentences well? Your mechanics. Your mechanics are going to be your spelling, punctuation, your grammar, your verb usage, those types of things. And if you don't do well in that and you need more practice, I can get you some more practice, because that is very important. It's kind of like inviting people over to your house and you've not cleaned your house. They walk in and they're like, ooh, your house is kind of dirty. But it's kind of like a first impression. When you have a reader that's reading your material and you have all these errors in there, they're like, oh, she didn't fix her errors. So anyway, so we got to make sure those are right. The style, do the sentences flow together? Do your sentences make sense? Does it go in a perfect order? You know, does the order of it make sense? And then the content, did you use your materials well? Did you have a main idea of the paragraph, or is it just random thoughts? Those types of things. But anyway, and you don't have to worry about how I put the numbers together and all that stuff. You'll see it when you first do it. So, and also know this, I have no clue if y'all are good writers or not. And yes, I do say y'all because I'm from Texas. So I can use good grammar. I know good grammar when I hear it and when I see it. And so I have no idea if y'all are good with writing or not. So if I see that you turn in a paragraph and it's not really what I expected, or I can tell that you didn't understand what I was saying, I won't even grade it. I'll say, look, let's just redo it. So anyway, that's how that works. Okay, so in your book, we're going to start on page 27, but actually we're not going to start on page 27. We're supposed to read that, but basically it's telling you what I'm going to be looking for when I grade it. So you can skip that page. So look at page 28. This is where it starts, the example paragraph. We're going to talk about that, and it also gives you some examples. Now you're going to write 2 different example paragraphs. But remember, we have a writing lesson and then we skip a day, and then a writing lesson and skip a day. So on the skip a days, you could do your other paragraph if you want to, or you can do them all at one time. It really is not that hard to put together a paragraph. It's really pretty easy. So, all right, so at the top of page 28, it says the example paragraph is used, I'm so trying to get this sliding right. The example paragraph is used to provide a better understanding of a subject by seeing various examples of it. Now, the subjects can vary from physical objects to concepts. Horses, chairs, honesty, dictatorships could all be topics of an example paragraph. So here's your 2 basic requirements. All the examples should be relevant to the subject. And the examples should be familiar to most people. Shouldn't be, some kind of chemical equation example or something, because most people don't know that. Okay, some other items to keep in mind. Be sure the examples are clear and appropriate to your point. Look for a natural order. When you're listing examples, when you're putting examples and you're writing about those in your example paragraph, you want to make sure that they're in a good order. And you'll see what I mean here in just a second. For each example, provide some extra information on the sentence. Avoid complicated subjects for a single paragraph. Those types of things, something that's, complicated and has lots of details and parts to it, you'd want to save that for a whole essay where you'd have several paragraphs. For an example paragraph for these next several paragraphs, we're going to be, and I'll have a list of ideas to give you too, and we're just going to keep it simple, just very, very simple. All right, here is your method of how you're going to construct it. Okay, you're going to pick a topic. You're going to brainstorm for examples. You're going to pick the best examples, and in other words, you're going to eliminate. You might list 10 examples. Well, you don't want to do 10. Eliminate at least 5 of them, probably half of them. Arrange those in some kind of a logical order. Generate a topic sentence, which we'll talk about that in just a second. Utilize the examples in the body, and then write a concluding sentence, and we'll talk about that. Now, working it through. Okay, so here's where the example of the example paragraph starts. Now, the topic is going to be root crops. This is not what you're writing about. This is what the example paragraph talks about. Root crops. All right, so here's some examples. So they chose their topic. That's their number one. The second thing was to brainstorm for examples. Okay, root crops. Beets, carrots, radishes, parsnips, onions, turnips, sugar beets, potatoes, and peanuts. All right, so that's a whole lot of them. So they're going to narrow that down to some things that most people are familiar with. Beets, carrots, radishes, turnips, and potatoes. All right, so those are well known, and people know generally, about those characteristics of those examples. Now, the number of examples that you need is dependent on the number of sentences that you want to put in your paragraph. So they've chosen how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They chose 5. Okay, so remember, you always need an introduction and a conclusion. So if you chose 5 examples, then you're going to also have to count your topic sentence and your concluding sentence, which would give you 7 sentences, which makes for a good paragraph. Now, first you could have a different 2 different ways that you could write your example paragraph. You could first have a different example for each sentence. So in other words, if you chose 5 examples, you would have 5 sentences, 1 sentence per example. Or you could have 2 sentences for each example if you had enough to say about each example. You may not have enough to say, you may not really know that much. Now, for the first example, they're going to use the first thing where they're just going to use 1 sentence per example. So then they've got all that, they've brainstormed, they picked everything, they've put it, they've decided how they're going to write it, the format of their paragraph. So now they're going to arrange those in some kind of logical order. You could do by the size of the root. Maybe it would be by popularity. Perhaps it could be length of time from planting to harvest. We should always have some logical order to your examples. So for this example, they're going to use the size of the root. They're going to arrange it from the smallest to the largest. So it'd probably be radish, carrot, beet, turnip, potato. That's their logical order that they're going to use. All right, so once you have figured all that out, you want to think about a topic sentence. Now, your topic sentence to me is probably the most important, because if you don't have a good topic sentence that leads into what you're talking about, your reader's going to go, I don't even want to read that. It's like a first impression. They're going to look at it and go, that's dumb. I don't even want to look at that. So you want to make sure you have a really good topic sentence. Okay, so it needs to be something about roots in general. You do not want to put specifics in a topic sentence. It needs to be in general. And hopefully something that reflects some sort of order of the arrangement that you've chosen. Okay, so here's an example of a topic sentence. It's in bold right there at the top of page 29. Root crops, which are found in most home gardens, vary in size and use. Okay, so they've named basically what they're talking about, and they just named that first, root crops, and they added a little thing there, and then they said vary in size and use. Okay, so that means that they've kind of, according to the logical order they're going to do it, they used that in their topic sentence. All right, so we need to write a sentence about each root in order that we've placed them. See this example. Now the concluding sentence, which is your last sentence, should make some summary or motivational statement about the subject. So basically your concluding sentence needs to be your topic sentence kind of reworded, or you can include some sort of motivation in there. So let's read the first example paragraph. All right, so they've titled it Root Crops for the Household Garden. All right, so here's their topic sentence. Root crops, which are found in most home gardens, vary in size and use. Notice that topic sentence has no details in it. That's just general use. Now, many people grow radishes since they are rather small and grow very quickly. One sentence about radishes. Carrots are a long root and require loose soil to do well. Beets vary in size from golf ball size to baseball size and are best before they get woody. Turnips are about the same size as beets, but now they are not nearly as popular as they once were. Perhaps the best known root crop is the potato. It takes lots of room to grow, but it yields a nice harvest most people enjoy. So those are your 5 sentences, 6 sentences if you include the topic sentence. Now your last sentence is your concluding sentence. From the marble-sized radish to the large baking potato, root crops are an important part of our diets, which can easily be grown at home in a household garden. Now, notice, all of those sentences have a logical flow. One sentence leads into the next, okay? And they used a variety of sentence patterns, not just all simple little tiny sentences, different kinds. They had some compound sentences in there, and they had some, what they call those things, ellipses in there. Not eclipses, that's what the moon does. Anyway, they had some ellipses in there, different things. So that was a very good paragraph. Now, let's look at example number 2. And notice also that example number 1 has 7 sentences, concluding and topic, and then 5 in the middle. Now, example number 2. Here's another paragraph about root crops, but it's organized according to the second method mentioned previously, where they have 2 sentences for each. Okay, we'll just use radishes, beets, and potatoes because they don't want to make their paragraph really long, so they're going to condense the examples they're using. Okay, so same title, and they use the same topic sentence. All right, so root crops found in most home gardens vary in blah, blah, blah. Okay, radishes are generally the smallest of the root crops except for some of the large Japanese radishes. Most home gardeners use the small red radishes since they are quick and easy to grow and take very little space. 2 sentences for radishes. Okay, beets are also red in color, but they are larger than radishes, more like golf ball size to baseball size. Home gardeners like beets since they provide both a root and a leaf crop. 2 sentences for beets. Potatoes can get quite large, many being bigger than softballs, but they do take up lots of space in the garden. If the household garden has plenty of space, homegrown potatoes can produce a big harvest that can be used over a period of time. That's 2 sentences for potatoes. Now they put their concluding sentence, which was the same sentence they used at the top to finish it out. Now notice your example number 2 had 8 sentences because there were 3 examples, 2 of each, so that's 6. Topic concluding, that's 8. So anyway, that kind of gives you an idea. Now on to your assignment. And like I said, you can do one today and you can do one tomorrow. If you want to, you can do both today. It doesn't matter to me. All right, you have worksheet 1 and worksheet 2 and worksheet 3. You're going to write 2 example paragraphs. I have to have a drink of coffee. All right, so you're going to write the first one on worksheet 2, and you use notebook paper. You don't have to. I mean, I think that's what y'all been doing in math, but I'm just letting you know, right? But just make sure you'll put like worksheet 2 or something at the top, so I'll know which paragraph is which. Okay, so write an example paragraph composed of 7 sentences. So this is going to go with the first example, you're going to have 7 sentences. Okay, the first sentence will be the topic sentence. The 5 body sentences will provide 5 different examples, and the last sentence will provide a conclusion of some sort. Now, here's some sample topics. This is not conclusive. You can choose any topic you want. But remember what they went over on page 26 on those. You want to make sure that these are things that most people know about, simple things, not anything difficult. But anyway, there's some great sample topics there. But like I said, these are just samples. You can make up your own, whatever. So anyway, and then worksheet 3 is the exact same thing, except you're going to write one with 8 sentences. So best thing is to do this. The first time you write your paragraph, skip lines for your rough draft. When you're done with your first example paragraph and you've skipped lines, go back through it. Have your other sister go back through it with you. Have your mom look at it, or another sibling, and just look over it and see, I think maybe you should change this, or you forgot to spell this, or whatever. Revise it and proofread it. Go over it. Make sure everything's right. Make sure that you've covered, look at that rubric back there that I told you about. Make sure everything's covered. Then write a final copy. My girls are really bad, and I take off every single time if they give me a writing assignment that they just wrote and they didn't do a rough draft. I want a rough draft. I don't want it, but I want you to do the rough draft, and I want the final copy. So make sure that you write a rough draft for each of these, that you revise it and proofread it. Make sure it falls under all the parameters. The first one's got to have 7 sentences. The second one has to have 8. That's part of the grade. Now, I can't really tell you exactly how much these are going to be worth. I want to say they're worth 10 points each, but frankly, I'm not real sure. So, but I'll know it when I go in to grade it. But I have to, my mind has to be focused on that before I can tell you that. But I'm pretty sure they're worth 10 points. So, anyway, if you have any trouble, just let me know. The other 2 that we're going to be using this week, I may not make a video because it's easy to read, but I'll have to look through it and see. But anyway, just let me know if you need any help. That's all for today.